G'day, Bomber fans. More trade news. You love to see it after a few drinks as well, so we'll see how that goes. We have a defender who may be forced to stay put. They want to leave, but they may be forced to stay put. We have a trade on the cards, finally, after a few days. We have clubs trying to steal our pick 9 from us. That's pretty juicy. There's plenty going on. It's all about to get more intense from here as well. The first few days are usually really quiet. Expect news to come out today, tomorrow, and then plenty more next week as well. Trade update coming at you, so let's get into it. All right, let's start with some smaller news. We're going to ease into it a little bit because I feel like I start all these videos talking about Jake Stringer. So today we're going to start with his good mate Jayden Laverde. So he and Stringer were both told to do some shopping around, not grocery shopping. They're shopping for a club that can give them a longer deal. Stringer, we know, has a genuine link, which I'll talk about in a second. Jayden Laverde doesn't. There was some early interest from Carlton and St Kilda, but the Blues are happy adding Nick Hind to the list, and the Saints are keeping some key defenders on their books that they may have delisted if Battle was to stay, but he's left. It is now looking like Laverde will be staying put at Essendon next season. He won't be extending that existing contract that he has. He still falls out of contract next season, but it is looking like he won't be leaving the club unless another suitor comes out of nowhere for him. And that's not because the club wants him to stay. It just seems like there really isn't that much interest for Laverde out there. I don't think a line has been put through a move yet. Anything can happen. If we had to bet, though, I think it'd be on Laverde being with us for 2025. Not the worst thing, to be honest. Ideally, he gives us draft capital, but it's by no means a bad thing to have him on our list for depth. This was never really a priority for us. Okay, Jake Stringer. Jake the Whackage Package Stringer. This one is starting to bubble about. I think we're at the stage now where a trade request could just come at any day. It might not even come, to be honest. We might not get a trade request. I think both clubs know what's going on here. Stringer doesn't really need to come out and tell anyone that he wants to leave. Essendon and GWS are set to begin talks on a trade either today or tomorrow or the day after, apparently. So that is big. The question now is, what would a trade look like? So Stringer would move across to the Giants on a 2-year deal. He'd be on roughly $400,000 a year, apparently, or 40 million yen. I think that sounds better than 400,000. The personal terms are not the issue. Stringer does want to move. There were question marks about him and his family moving interstate, but he wants to play at GWS. That is, that's widely believed, widely known. The issue is how we get this trade done now, because GWS are set to start conversations at pick 56. That is what many believe the starting point will be for them, and quite rightfully we'll be asking for more. The issue is more pick 53 and pick 57. There's a gap in between there that I think is worth Stringer's range. I think 53 is too low, or 56 is too low, and 37 is too high. If they had a pick in the 40s, this would be a lot easier to get done, but they don't. So there's going to be some wheeling and dealing for this to get done. Now, I expect us to pay part of his salary, an extra 50 or 100k a year, that is. I don't know how much that is in yen, 1 million a year, 1 million yen extra, I don't know. So if we pay part of that salary, we can ask GWS to give us a better pick in return. Pick purchasing is what that's called. That could help, but then you have Connor Stone and Dylan Shield, whether or not they'll be involved in a deal. That could complicate things, so there's still a bit to play out. I think we see this one get done. I'm now at the point where I would be more surprised to see Stringer at Essendon next year. Pick 9. Now this has become a really wanted pick out of nowhere. The Josh Battle compensation really made things tricky for us here, especially because the Saints like Kako, so they wouldn't be afraid to bid on him early before our pick 9, which would force us to waste that pick when matching for him. Clubs are now targeting pick 9 to move up the order. Both Melbourne and St Kilda want more inside the top 10, and both are prepared to offer up future capital for him, for pick 9, and potentially even overpay for it. There's a chance that we try and move up the order, but there's a chance that we move into next year's draft with more capital than we should be getting for pick 9. There are teams inside the top 10 that wouldn't be opposed to splitting picks as well. Richmond, Gold Coast and North Melbourne are just a few that could maybe be convinced to part ways with early selections that we could give away with pick 9 involved. And then, of course, something that else that isn't really being talked about is the chance that we bring pick 9 to the draft and trade live if a bid was to come for Kako. That can be done. If we feel a bid is about to come, we trade pick 9 away and just use the other capital we have to match a bid. That way we either have a lot more capital next year, or we can do more live trading after to move up the order a bit. So really, we aren't in a great position with pick 9, but there are options for us and ways to shuffle around the order that we are looking at. Plenty of clubs eyeing off pick 9 though. Future Brownlow medalist Josh Rotham. So I spoke of Laverde before. His future is directly linked to Josh Rotham and whether or not he comes to the club. We've met with Rotham. There have been preliminary talks, but even more recent than that, Rotham has met with new coach Andrew McWalter as he tries to get a gauge of the list and who could be used and who could be let go. I think Rotham probably doesn't get delisted, but he is a free agent. He's an unrestricted free agent, so if we did want him, we could get him for free. I think as Laverde's trade hopes dwindle down, so too does Rotham's though. Although, I personally wouldn't hate the club bringing him in to allow Wiedemann to be delisted, but I don't think the need for that is as great as replacing Laverde with Rotham would be. So it looks like Rotham probably stays with West Coast next year, but again, still plenty of time on this one. Right, now Nick Hind, he is not technically an Essendon player anymore. We delisted him amidst a drop-off in form and some off-field issues around the people he associates with, so I don't know what he's up to right now, probably nothing good. So his manager, Scott Lucas, has come out and said that a few clubs are actually keen on Nick Hind potentially joining them as a delisted free agent. He said that there is a little bit of interest, which means Hind could maybe join a third AFL club for 2025. Remember, he started at St Kilda. Now, anything that happens here won't happen for a while. He is a delisted free agent, meaning clubs can wait until the delisted free agency period to pick him up, which is in November, I believe, early November. It's a bit surprising. I guess he would be dirt cheap and is experienced. He adds speed, so some clubs are having a cheeky little think about Nick Hind on their list. I know what people were thinking. Would we get compensation if he meets the requirement for compensation, if his contract is big enough? Even if he was on a massive, massive contract, we would not get compensation because we delisted him. And to end the video, we're going to round off some more trade updates. So GWS are not just keen on Stringer. They are currently doing their work to see if they can potentially fit Dylan Shiel into the team as well. There is interest there, obviously not as large as Stringer, or we'd be talking about it more. The question is, does the interest grow enough to warrant a trade? Dylan Shiel does apparently want to pursue a move if one is available, so this one could come about. Connor Stone has met with Essendon. We still haven't gone all in on a trade yet. I think discussions with Stringer and that deal will probably need to ramp up a bit more before we involve Stone in the trade. He is, of course, yet to sign that Giants contract extension, suggesting that he would be down to pursue a move, but finding value for him with Stringer in the same deal could be tricky. Jackson Pryor, we've met with him. That isn't new, but we can't really do anything while he's still on Brisbane's list. He's out of contract, but he's not a free agent, so he would require a trade. If he's delisted by Brisbane after the trade period, Essendon will likely try and sign him, either in the delisted free agency period or even as an SSP signing. Remember, we are trialling Baldwin again for that backline, so we might chuck Pryor in there for some friendly competition. And finally, we have some VFL news. Cam Nyko and Jared Eckersley will be with our team next year. They've signed one-year extensions to stay with the VFL program, and now we still do not have a VFL coach. Blake Carousella left us to go back to Richmond, so we have to replace him. There were whispers about us targeting Justin Lepage, but he has since taken a new role in Collingwood's list management team. But that is that. Trade update for Thursday done and dusted. Cheers for watching. Let me know down below what you think Jake Stringer is worth. Like if you like Josh Rotham. Subscribe if you love Josh Rotham. And as always, go Bombers.